Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for a first video in a new series of videos. This right here is the very first model kit that I've ever reviewed on the channel. Now just recently when Ryan sent us that awesome footage from ACGHK 2021, one of the things that caught my eye were these Morstorm model kits. They're fully painted, come with accessories, blast effects, and light up, plus they're 1/9 scale, so a little bit bigger than your usual smaller scale collectibles. So yeah, I was intrigued to say the least. And Morstorm decided to send out a couple of promotional samples, starting off with the MK46, and very soon we'll be taking a look at the Rescue Armor figure or model kit as well. Now if you are looking to pick up any of these kits, they are available from toyswonderland.com. I have included the link down in the description below, and they do have 12-month installment plans if you are a fan of paying off your figures, or indeed your model kits, over time. What we are going to do now though is get the box laying flat in the light box and do the unboxing. Here of course we have the box art for MK46. As you can see, there is a massive image of the model kit right up here on the front, and for some reason an Avengers A logo in the background. This is based off Civil War, not an Avengers film, but we'll allow it. Tony is of course still an Avenger. Now we do have a couple of images of the accessories that he comes with. Initially, I thought to myself, why on earth does he come with this? This is the piece that we saw used in Spider-Man Homecoming to launch the mini drones. And then of course it hit me, this is the exact same suit as the MK47, so if you wanted to, you could paint it up to look like the 47, and then you have the requisite accessories to go with it. Rather ingenious from the folks over at Morstorm. Now, something that I did notice just a second ago is this image right here where he's looking a little bit flat, and it says standard real product photos. The one that I have in this box looks more like this. He is fully painted. So yes, I did unfortunately misspeak in the intro. When you get yours, it will come unpainted. Just because mine is a promotional sample, they've gone all out and painted it because I reckon they didn't want a reviewer like me ham-handing it up and doing a disservice to their product. Now you can also see that because it is a sample, mine has come fully assembled. I personally would have loved to build this guy, but I'm going to be honest, the paint job that they've done on him does him justice, whereas if I was going to attempt it, yeah, I don't think I'd be able to do anywhere near as good of a job as the team have done here. This guy looks spectacular. Now, of course, when you get yours, you will see a bunch of sprues. Mine has been compartmentalized into a bunch of plastic bags. These are the various sprues and bits and pieces, I believe, for the display base. And down below, we have a bunch of effect pieces. And even further down, a bunch of hands, the little drone shooter piece, and lastly, the fully built base part of the stand. What we are going to do now, though, is get all of his accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Here we have all the bits and pieces that come with MK46. And as you can see, this guy comes with a ton of stuff. That's one of the benefits of model kits, is that not only are you building the figure himself, but you get to build a ton of awesome parts. And with the lower cost of making plastic pieces on sprues, they can make repeating pieces like these right here, and do them at a relatively low cost, which means you do get quite a few more. Now as for the display base, it's a really simple hexagonal style display base. I really like the way it looks. Mine has been painted in a high gloss black, but when you get yours and it's unpainted, it'll be more like this color on the underside. Now you can see there are a couple of clamp points, so if you do get multiple of these model kits, you can connect the bases up and it'll have a really nice look because they'll all be uniform. You can though paint them differently if that's something you'd like to do, just to break up the honeycomb style pattern that you'll be creating. We do have MK46 on the front here and of course a Marvel logo. There's also this honeycomb style texture on the inside and a threaded port. Now there's actually another port hiding under this cap right here, and we'll touch on why that's there in just a second. For the main one, you get a dynamic flight pole. This is metal, it's also very nice and sturdy. I also really like the way this waist clamp works. It's just a regular waist clamp for the most part, but if you want to move it up and down, you undo that little latch, move it up, and then lock it into place, and now it's secure. It's not going anywhere. I actually really like that design, and it's translucent, so hopefully it should blend into the background when you have your Iron Man on the base. Now for the other port, you use this mini flight pole. This is not meant to be used with the figure, but you can see it has multiple different points to move it around. This actually connects to this drone pod piece. So if you'll remember, in Spider-Man Homecoming, this little doohickey arrived and shot out a bunch of these mini drones. This part actually has its own swap outs, but before we talk about that, let's look at the paint applications. This is done to an exceptionally high standard. Whoever it was that painted mine, thank you. This thing looks gorgeous, and hopefully this gives you a rough idea as to how yours could look if you use some similar painting methods. This is really nicely done. Now it does have various parts and pieces that can swap out and remove. The easiest way for me to show you that is to bring in the instruction manual. Don't worry, we'll actually do it as well. But on the last page of the build process, you can actually see that the various parts and pieces actually swap out, so you can create this look right here. You are shooting out the drones, it's got their little trails, and there are multiple different sections that have been added on. This is the normal look, then this is the super mode, where it's all expanded. So to make that happen, you actually remove this top and bottom panel and attach these pieces. Now, I'm not going to try and do it on camera, so of course we got to do this. And there you have it. I apologize, I would have liked to have tried to do that, but removing all those panels and plugging these pieces on was no easy task. But as you can see, when it's done, this piece is hefty. It's got a ton more of these little drone pieces that you can launch out, but as you can see, they have their little claws on the back. Now, they're not in scale, mind you, but they are meant to be these pieces right here. So these are the little prongs that are sticking out the back, and yes, you can open them up, just like you saw in the ferry scene from Spider-Man Homecoming. Now, you'll also have noticed in the instruction manual that they did have these little light trails out the back. Now, they do come out of the box completely straight, but they do say in the manual that you can cut them down, heat them up with a hairdryer, and shape them to be pretty much however you'd like them to be. That's a really nice touch. You do get 4 of them, so maybe if you mess one of them up, you can use one of the others, or you can trim them down and get a whole bunch more out of it. Now, you also get a ton of blast effect pieces. You know me, I love my blast effects, and these are fantastic. These are actually meant to go with the trails. You peg these in, and then you have the little drones shooting out of them. I really like that. It makes it a little bit more dynamic, but as you can see, you get a ton of those. You also get some bigger ones. I'm pretty sure these are meant for the feet. I like the sculpt here, and I do like the paint applications. They start off a nice light translucent yellow, and as they get closer to the source, they get a little bit darker and a lot more red. These, I think, are meant for the repulsors. They're just a little bit smaller than the feet ones, or as you can see, quite a lot smaller. You do get 2 of those, and then lastly, 2 of these beam style effects. Now, I assume, just like these pieces, you should be able to heat them up and shape them, but for me, I'm pretty happy with how they look out of the box. Now, he does come with an array of hands. As you would expect, they peg on using ball joints, and these are also painted very, very nicely. But once again, if you want to paint yours a different color scheme, you can go for the Mark 47 look, or do your own custom color. That could be pretty cool as well. Lastly, you do get these little shoulder-mounted drone shooting or missile shooting pieces, plus a forearm missile as well. Mine is unpainted silver, but I might touch that up myself, add a little bit more paint to it. That's the benefit with these model kits. They are so customizable, you build them yourself so you have the fun of seeing how the engineering actually works, and, as I said, you can have fun with it. You can go crazy with your color scheme and make something truly unique. What we are going to do now, though, is get the Mark 46 himself out here and take a closer look. Here we have him standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. And my biggest takeaways so far is, number one, the sculpt is very, very impressive here. Being a model kit, it has a lot of the pros, but also some of the cons of just that. It's a model. Number one, the sculpt, as I said, is very sharp. Because they are a bunch of individual parts and pieces that come together and connect to make this thing what it is, it's not just surface level detail, they actually stand alone pieces. And that really works for me. There are a ton of panel lines and little arc reactor bits and pieces and little details in the joints that otherwise might be a little bit softer, but not here. They are super crisp and super sharp. Also, the proportions. This guy looks really good. It looks like a dude in a suit. I have said that throughout a couple of reviews recently, that they are starting to get proportions right in Iron Man figures, where previously they have looked a little bit goofy. I really like how this guy comes across. The light up feature is fantastic, and the way they painted mine is awesome. Now, as for the drawbacks, you are going to notice a few gaps here and there, because it's just the nature of it. You're putting together a bunch of individual pieces, you will see some gaps. Also, it is a little bit lighter weight because it is a model kit. They are bound by the type of plastic they have to use in their sprue making machines, so it is a little bit lighter. But if those are the only two major drawbacks, then yeah, this guy's looking pretty darn awesome. What we are going to do now, though, is take him off the rotating turntable, punch in, and take a closer look at the details. And here we have him up close and personal. I have to say, so far, I've been really impressed with how this guy looks. The sculpt, the paint applications, yeah, it is the Mark 46 from Civil War through and through. It looks fantastic. Now, it is a little bit more lightweight because it is a model kit, and you will find that parts and pieces sometimes do pop off. It's just the nature of the game here. This is a consumer kit, something that you can build at home, so you'd much rather pieces be on ball joints and pop off rather than breaking. So that's exactly what you'll find here, but for the most part, he is very sturdy. One of the coolest things, though, about this kit is the light up feature. It is one of the most seamless integrated features that I've ever seen. You literally push this button right here, and on the head, this button in the center, and the eyes and the chest light up. It's genius. It's simple. It's straightforward. This is the best way that I've ever seen a company hide the activation switches. It's just completely invisible to the naked eye unless someone points it out to you. Now, unfortunately, he doesn't have all of the other lights on these various arc reactors dotted around the body. Does that bother me? No, not really. It's not a huge deal for me, but I totally understand if for you it is. If that's the case, you can paint them in. They are, of course, sculpted there, so you can add a little bit of white paint and some blue feathering around the outside to give it that arc reactor look. Now, being an Iron Man figure, of course, he does have opening flaps on the back. They are a little bit harder to activate just because all of the parts and pieces on the model kit snap together very, very nicely, but there is some tech detail on the underside. It's something that they didn't really have to do, but I'm glad they did. Now, the finish on mine is gorgeous. I love the metallic red and the nice soft champagne gold here, but it will be potentially hard to replicate in hand. So take this with a grain of salt, just base your purchasing decision off the look and the sculpt, not necessarily the paint applications. I know that is rather hard to do. Now, to attach the missile pods, these pieces do actually remove. You will see them later on in the video, and you do have to dismantle the forearm to attach the rocket, so it is a little bit more complex. But once again, it's the nature of the game when it comes to model kits. Now, coming down to the legs, they are a really nicely sculpted piece. They look very, very seamless, except up here, because he does have drop-down hinges, but when you push them up, yeah, it looks like one seamless piece. I'm a huge fan of engineering like that hides joints. Rescue also has a ton of awesome engineering, so when we get to reviewing that figure, I think you might just be even more impressed with her than I am with this guy. Now for our quick side-by-side comparison, here we have the 46 alongside Variant Loki from Marvel Legends and the ZD Toys Mark 7. As you can see, no, he won't fit in alongside your existing collection, but for me, I actually like that. I like the bigger, different size. That means when you are starting off a new line, you're doing exactly that. You're starting from scratch. It will be a challenge for a lot of people to rebuild their display, but in this new, bigger scale with the light-up features and the extra articulation and being able to build and paint them yourselves, it makes it a little bit more personal, a little bit more unique to your specific collection. That's at least what I like about it. Now, I totally understand those of you who just don't see the value here. They don't want something bigger. It's not going to fit in with their existing display. I totally get it, but for me, I really like the way he looks. Just going over articulation on the Mark 46. Now, bear in mind, this is my personal copy of the figure, but I didn't assemble it, so if I miss a joint, you'll have to forgive me. I don't know exactly what's gone into the engineering in the build of making this figure. So when you build yours, I'm pretty sure you'll uncover more bits and pieces that can move, if potentially I do miss one. Also, if parts and pieces do pop off, that's kind of the nature of the game with model kits. You'll just have to plug it back in and keep on going. Now, starting with the helmet, it has an extreme range of motion in pretty much all directions. More than enough for me personally. Going back, total non-issue, same thing with going down, left and right, and a bit of swivel. Now the arms on mine are notorious for coming off, but they do go up to about there. The shoulder pad is on a ball joint, so it will nicely move out of the way. It will go forward and back, and there is a massive butterfly joint at the shoulder that gets you a ton of range. We have a swivel at the bicep, a double bend here at the elbow, which is nice and stiff, and also a ball joint for the wrist. As for the torso, we do have a ton of range up on top, forward and back, side to side, and swivel, and then a ton more down below. So combined, yeah, more than enough range in the torso. As for the legs, they will go forward to about there, but of course, just like a Hot Toys figure, there are multiple moving pieces. You can move these up and out of the way, and the legs will go the full way up. They will, of course, go out as well. Mine are a little bit more restricted. You can futz with it and get them to go up slightly higher. Swivel at the thigh, a double bend at the knee, and then of course a ton more motion down here at the foot, forward and back, swivel side to side, and toe articulation. Just wrapping up on the Morstorm 1/9 scale Mark 46. Now, going into this, I had no idea what to expect. I have built model kits before, but never anything from this company, and then of course we found out it was fully pre-built and pre-painted. So initially, yeah, I was a little bit frustrated. I wanted to build this myself so I could let you know exactly how the build process went if it was smooth, and then do a little bit of a paint job. But then at the end of the day, yes, they did save me a bunch of time, so I also appreciate that, because this guy looks awesome. I don't think I could have come anywhere near this quality of finish if I was to try and paint it myself. So they have done a lot of the hard work for me. Can I still recommend this kit even though yours will be unpainted and you'll have to assemble it and paint it yourself? Yeah, absolutely. That's part of the fun of a model kit, so you should already know what you're getting yourself into when you decide to pick up this set. Now, all of that aside, the figure himself, is he any good? Number one, yes, I love the scale. He's a bit bigger than a Marvel Legends piece, but not as big as a Hot Toys figure. He's a nice middle ground size, which for me really does work. I love the articulation, I love the sculpt here, and the light up eyes and arc reactor are so easy to activate. You literally just push the chest and head button, and that's it. No removing panels, no little switches or fiddly bits and pieces. This is absolutely the best way to do it. Plus you get accessories that if you wanted to repaint this guy as the 47, then you already have accessories that go with him, and the blast effects are awesome. So yes, absolutely I can recommend this kit. I will be picking up more for myself so I can start to build out this line in 1/9 scale, because this right here might just be one of my new favorite scales. I really like how this guy looks and how he feels in hand. Now if you are looking to pick up this set, he is available from toyswonderland.com, but do bear in mind yours will come unassembled and unpainted, so it won't look exactly like mine here unless you manage to copy the finish. So as I said, do keep that in mind. Also, while you are down there, why not check out the link to 6th Scale Network, the awesome Facebook group. Come along, chat figures, share photos of your collection, and of course, see what's coming up next on the channel. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video. The arms that...